So here's another question about the 5 hindrances. Bhante, I see the 5 hindrances, or I've been contemplating them, as ways that I try to manage my suffering. When I suffer, I get angry, I seek sensual pleasures, take on projects, pointless or not pointless, distract myself with entertainment or sleep, or relentlessly search for answers to calm myself down. It feels like I'm just coexisting, or learning how to coexist with my illness rather than curing it. But if I stop managing my suffering in these ways, what should I be doing instead? What else is there?
Well, non-management of suffering is there. But first and foremost, that's not what hindrances are. The whole thing that was described there, those are already results of hindrances. Like you don't engage with hindrances once you get angry. Getting angry in the first place is already a hindrance. So liability to lust, liability to aversion, anger, liability to restlessness or worry or doubt, that's already a hindrance. Those are already signs and features of hindrances, signs and secondary characteristics that you're not seeing. So you think the hindrance is when you're fully engaged with your desires and so on. No, that's already like complete result of the proliferated hindrance that you're fully under. So you have to give up the management. So what do I do then? Well, there you go. What do you do then? Question comes up. Pressure to do something comes up. Well, that's already a hindrance. It's already going to be one. So you discern a hindrance in whatever comes up. So you stop doing the management. I bet your restlessness and anxiety would increase. Because I have all this dukkha coming up and I'm not doing anything about it. So that's a pressure, isn't it? That's an internal pressure that's trying to make you act, trying to get you to do, trying to pick it up, take the bait. That's already a hindrance. And if you pick it up, you stepped into it, right into the trap. Doubt will come up for sure. Oh, but I'm not clear about this, I'm not clear about that. Pressure builds up. You start seeking clarity acting out of that pressure, because the pressure is uncomfortable. And yes, it's not going to be perfect. You're bound to be doing it to some extent, but you want to be able to, hold on. Acting out of pressure is what hinders me. Yes. There is no external justification as to what I direct my actions for. Sure, from the worldly point of view, there are better ways of acting out of hindrances and worse ways. But fundamentally, if you're trying to be free from hindrances, they're all the same. Acting out of pressure means you're hindered. So that's when you start to recognize as well, okay, doubt, it pressures me, but it's not really about the clarity, the way it presents itself. It's about acting out of pressure. It's about getting rid of the discomfort of the pressure. So you abstain. No, I will not seek for clarity and answers for as long as this pressure does not subside. When the pressure subsides, I can try and seek if truly I needed clarity and answers. But often after the pressure would have subsided, I don't know how long it would take, maybe days, you'll then find out that you already knew the answer, what you were supposedly seeking for. And it was all just a show, just mask, just sort of trying to hook you, bait you into acting out of pressure on a pretext of but this is a valid reason. Mm-hmm. So that's already acting out of hindrance. So you have loads to do when you stop doing the management. But it will all be on the level of abstaining from doing that's rooted in pressure, discerning that, cultivating those perceptions of those signs and features that hint even before you are kind of down the rabbit hole of having no choice but to act out, type of thing.
Seeing your...
So need to do something palpable is a hindrance already.
The pressure to...
Well, of course, you're going to be pressured.
But then there's the choosing of it.
Yeah.
That's
but first, you accept the pressure. Well, you automatically accept the pressure when you choose to act out of those, the sense of duty or whatever it's sort of trying to make you act. Then by not acting out, you're left with the pressure. So what do? Well, that's what you do. You endure that pressure on the right level. You don't give in by body, by speech. Mentally, you try to disassociate and unfocus from the thoughts that are trying to get your focus. You know, as I said so many times before already, say you're pressured by ill will. Okay, you're not doing anything by body, you're not doing anything by speech. Mentally, there are thoughts revolving around it, but you are the one who then focuses your lens onto them, and that gives the momentum. So it's like, and in the same way, when people think I must stop these thoughts, in order to stop them, you need to pick them up first. So either way, you focus on them in order to deal with them. You're hooked. You stepped into a trap. So on the mental level, regardless of the hindrance, when these thoughts are trying to crystallize themselves into sensual thoughts, or thoughts of ill will, or thoughts of restlessness, that last part you don't do. That's what it was. He doesn't welcome, he doesn't delight. It's like, okay, these thoughts trying to enter, it's not my job, no duty, and it's actually gonna make me fall into a trap if I try to deal and prevent them or stop them. But it is my job to not allow them to take that center stage of my focus, of my attention. So you want to know that they're there, and you already know that they're there. As I said before, even before you allow thoughts to specifically crystallize in your mind, you know exactly what direction they will be crystallizing. You know exactly what thoughts will be. If it's lust, if it's anger, you know exactly where it's going to go. So you don't give that last push on that mental level. And if that pressure for those thoughts to crystallize stays there with you for days, that's your training. Not allowing that last drop of crystallization, of that focusing on them, but not completely trying to ignore what's happening. Well, if you're doing it rightly, you won't be able to ignore it, because obviously the knowledge of what you're pressured towards, it is there, it is known. So you don't try to distract yourself from it either. Oh, let me do something so I completely forget about the whole picture. No. Let me just forget about the tip of those thoughts. They would kind of give them that momentum and weight through my own mental acceptance of them. But everything else, I mustn't forget. I mustn't forget that I'm still under the liability of those pressures. I mustn't forget that I'm still under the liability of lust, aversion, anxiety. Because see, recognizing liability to a hindrance, it's already a thought. It's already a broader, more general, more peripheral sense of nimitta and characteristics of those states of mind, even without you waiting to fully experience anxiety or lust. So now those thoughts are something you realize, oh, so now I could train in regard to them as well. Those ambiguous, non-defined, yet fully known in that sense. You know exactly where these weird kind of background mood states of mind are leaning towards. You would, if you sit down, stop distracting yourself and say, where is this taking me? You would know it's going to be either lust, desire, restlessness, doubt, or just laziness and distraction. It's going to be one of the hindrances. So that's the point. In order to start discerning these broader, even less clear, less defined, less crystallized nimittas, you need to first and foremost stop feeding the current ones. Stop grasping the signs and features, how the sutta say. So signs and features are always that peripheral in regard to whatever you are attending and whatever you are preoccupied with. It's where that pressure is, it's where that contact is, it's where that whole kind of sankhara of that activation kind of comes from. You not seeing them, picking them up, you are already under their momentum. So you can't start from there. You can't just stop them on the level of your mind if your physical behavior is not purified, if your verbal behavior is not purified. But if it was, then okay, now this does become a more palpable ground where you could work rightly, where you could recognize the pressure of a lust or a ill will. Feel it. You're going to obviously feel the pressure, because I said you start in reverse order. You don't start being unpressured by hindrance.
Right.
You're going to feel the pressure and then recognize what thoughts mind wants to think about. And it's kind of thinking here and there, but without your input. And then it's like, okay, this is still not my problem. I don't have to deal with this, because dealing with this requires me to pick it up. All I need to do is not allow that careless attending to them. They would then carelessly crystallize them and carelessly feed them further and give them even more momentum. And if I do, which inevitably you will in the beginning, It's not like, okay, well, now I have to engage with them even more to undo what I did mistakenly. No. At any given point, you catch yourself half an hour caught in the thoughts you shouldn't have been allowing the crystallization and the center stage. At any given point, the principle of withdrawal from them is the same. There and then, when you become self-aware, you don't allow the center stage. You don't allow. You unfocus just to the degree that you were giving them the momentum. That's it. So it's not, there is at no point it's justified to pick a hindrance up in order to deal with it. And that's the whole practice of Yoniso Manasikara done rightly, whereby it's not about what you're attending, it's about seeing through what the mind wants you to attend. And then what you are left with is, as the sutta says, when the hindrances present themselves, but you see through them correctly, you don't pick the signs and features, you don't fall into the trap, what you're left with in case of lust is the signs of beautiful. That are not, you have no lust in regard to. The signs of repulsive, you have no ill will in regard to. What was the other one? The things suitable for doubt, which is still not doubt. Only when you pick it up, when you choose to act out of that pressure that things suitable for doubt are putting on you. You're still not hindered. Yeah, the tiredness, it's like wrongly attending to the sign of laziness, to the possibility of not doing anything.
Dullness,
dullness. But in and of itself, that's still not a hindrance. The hindrance is when you act out of that initial pressure that they put on you, because the mind is not trained in regard to the pressure. And then you start evolving and you think you're dealing with them, but in reality it makes no difference to Mara as long as you take them.
Yeah.
Whether you go one way or the other way, as long as you first take it, that's all he wants. You are still within his control and the domain.
So you just get more and more aware of the directions that your mind
is kind of sending you towards.
Is pointing towards, but even though it's not in those course actions, just the subtle
the flavor almost
tendency, inclination of the mind you could pick up, even though it doesn't seem like just doing anything. So
well, technically, exactly. Technically, it's not doing anything yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not setting up to do those things. And that's what you need to start recognizing. That again, all the similes about the nimittas and secondary characteristics the Buddha gave in the suttas were exactly that. It's like the cook, the skilled cook, who doesn't just give the food to the king and then forgets where that food kind of led him last time. Oh, he eats this, he doesn't eat it, sometimes so it's like you want to be able to foresee. So there's no lust, there's no aversion, there's no doubt. Well, what do I do? Well, recognize that those things are absent and then see. While they're absent, is your mind now leaning towards them? Are you doing things by body, speech, mind, carelessly that's bringing you closer to them? Because that's already a hindrance. Because it's going to be rooted in some sort of compulsion, in some sort of pressure, however subtle it might be. And as such, it's a hindrance. You're already hindered even on the level of those possibilities of engagement, if you are not seeing through the nature of those possibilities.
Kind of this image of having a compass, the right compass, you know exactly what direction you should be going in, what direction you shouldn't be going in. Like maybe like a captain on a boat, because just a little bit, a degree off, it looks like you're going to a certain island, but it's actually a degree off.
Of course, like it will be. It's not going to be absolutely 100% accurate from the start. It's like through trial and error and refinement, you're getting a more accurate reading as to like the signs and features. You're becoming even more skilled cook. You recognize 3 days ahead what the king will want, type of thing, where the king's preferences are heading. So that's kind of the whole point. But as I said, it's not like you have to do something on account of it, any different thing. It's the problem is in you not recognizing it in the first place and then doing everything else but the thing you should do. And the thing you should do is abstain from doing anything on account of picking up the pressure, and instead recognize that whenever there is a pressure of any hindrance, lust, aversion, laziness, restlessness, anxiety, doubt, whenever there is a pressure of any hindrance, there is associated thoughts that want to take the center stage of your attention, of your mind, want to run the show. And that's what you don't do. I won't give them that last satisfaction of mentally, okay, let me take this up. That's it. But see, that's quite a hard thing to do, especially in the beginning, where your whole being depends on doing and managing and fighting and defending yourself from these pressures that arise. But you inadvertently, by acting out of a pressure, you're inadvertently affirming it. You're inadvertently picking up what a pressure is serving you with. And then you try to counter it with asubha or with metta or with this, and it never works. Because you're picking it up. But if you don't pick it up, then the asubha is discerned on the level of that possibility of the beauty without you needing to pick it up, because beautiful is already factually ugly. You don't need to pick up the beautiful to prove to yourself that it's ugly. You just need to not pick it up, stay long enough with it, and you'll discern the ugliness. That's exactly what the sutta says. Within the sign of subha, he sees asubha. And if he becomes skilled in that, then he can see it either way. Within asubha, he can see subha. Not at the expense of it, not replacing one with the other, just seeing through. He sees the whole extent, yeah.